What is up, guys? It is time for yet another tier list video. I'm your host, BC King, and as you guys may or may not know, I am a huge fan of the Jak and Daxter franchise. One of my favorite franchises of all time. Maybe my favorite PlayStation franchise ever, of all time. So, I thought it'd be cool to rank every single Jak and Daxter game. Now, I have not done playthroughs of everyone. I've only done, I think, up to Jak X. So, The Lost Frontier is still waiting for a playthrough. But I have played each game a couple times to do a definitive tier list here. Now, you guys might see the haven't played category. There is one game I have not played, which is the Daxter game on the PSP. I didn't own a PSP as a kid. I never got to play it, so kind of unfortunate. I have seen the story of the game, and it looks kind of interesting, but I haven't played it myself, so I can't really give it a good ranking here. So that is the only game we unfortunately cannot rank on this list. But every other game I have played at least like 2 or 3 times, so I think I have a good idea of where I put each one. So we got 1 to 5 again, similar to our previous Has-Been Hotel tier list. So 1 being my favorite and 5 being my least favorite, and there you go. We're gonna go, I guess, best to worst, or worst to best, whatever to call it. All right. So let's start with the first game, the OG, Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy. Now, fun fact for you guys, I think this game, out of all of them, is the one I played last, I want to say. Or no, I think it was Lost Frontier. But I know I played Jak 2 first, and then Jak 3, and then I think it was Precursor, or no, it was X, Precursor Legacy, and then Lost Frontier. So I kind of played them out of order. But the first game is really good. It sets a good baseline for the series. I love the soundtrack. I love the village that you start in. What is it called? Stainover Village, I think. I love Samos. I love Kira. I love Jak and Daxter's designs. I love Daxter being the human, going from a human to an Otso at Misty Island. Also, Misty Island is kind of a rough place to be in. A lot of enemies in there that can really mess with you. The story, I think, is not my favorite. I'm not really a fan of the final bosses in this game, Gol and Maya. They're fine, but, there's not really, like, a huge... There is kind of a story to them, but it's not really one of my, like, you know... It's not one of the most engaging stories for me. Like, they're basically a couple of precursors that became evil because of Dark Eco, similar to how Daxter became an Otso because of Dark Eco. But yeah, I think the reason why is because Dark Eco is touched on a lot more in Jak 2 and 3, I think this one kind of makes it feel less of a big deal, if that makes sense, because they go all in with Dark Eco in Jak 2 and 3, and then this one is just kind of like, you know, it's there, but, I think this might be a personal thing, I don't know, but I think having played Jak 2 and 3 first, before Precursor Legacy, it kind of made the whole, like, you know, Dark Eco, like, made these guys evil thing hit a bit less, because they do that in Jak 2 and 3, and a lot more complex. So, yeah, I love all the locations, though. I love the missions. I love, what is that one area? Geyser Rock, where it has, like, the, what is it? The, it's like the vehicles from Jak 2, but it's kind of like in this game, too, where you have to, like, go around and collect stuff. That was fun. I really love the underwater section. I forgot what it's called. It's like, it's where you're, like, underwater. You have to, like, get the power plant. It's like a power plant kind of area or something. That was kind of cool. So yeah, there's a lot I like with this game, but again, it's kind of the baseline for Jak and Daxter. Not my favorite, so this one for me is gonna be a number 3. The baseline, middle of the road Jak and Daxter game. Not like my favorite. It's not bad at all. It is great, but there are 2 games I think are definitely better, which we'll get to here in a bit. But yeah, Precursor Legacy does a great job, you know, setting the franchise up, setting the characters up, which will appear in later games. Again, great locations, great music. Not the best final boss. I do love the final boss fight, though. That's a good one. But just the characters of Gol and Maya didn't really hit that hard for me. But they were enjoyable. They had good voice acting. Oh, also, that's the other thing. The one thing I forgot to bring up. This game did not have subtitles, and for some reason, the voices are pretty quiet in this game. You can adjust them if you want to, like, you know, hear the game audio less. But even then, like, not having subtitles is kind of a pain, because there's a lot of times where I'm like, what are they saying? You know, I can't really tell what they're saying, and then there's no subtitles, so I can't really, you know, I can't know. But thankfully Jak 2 fixed that, and they kept having them from then on out. But this first game really needed subtitles, so I don't know why they skipped out on that. But for that big reason, that's why I can't really put it at my number 2 or 1 spot. But still a great game. I enjoy it, so there you go. Okay, now we get to Jak 2. And boy, oh boy, do they really ramp things up. For one, Jak is a quiet protagonist in the first game, like Link from Zelda, right? He doesn't talk at all. Right off the bat, he gets kidnapped. Well, basically, here, I'll tell the story real quick. So basically, it starts from where the first game left off in Sandover Village. They find a rift portal, whatever you call it. They get transported through time to, I think, the future. And Jak and Daxter are separated, and then Jak gets experimented on. And in doing so, he has Dark Eco, like, injected into him. And it makes him talk. He talks for the first time, and I was like, whoa. He's got long hair now. Like, he's this badass talking dude now. Like, right off the bat, they, like, set the much darker tone. Because the first game was dark in some places, but it had, like, a really lighthearted tone to it. This game, right off the bat, like, goes all in on the dark tone. Where it's like, Jak is talking now. He's got Dark Eco inside of him. The locations look more, you know, whatchamacallit, like, gritty, if you want to call it that. The models are a lot better. I do enjoy that. And just the story, too, where it's like, you know, they're in the future, and they find out that it's basically their village, like, I think 100 years in the future or something. They find young Samos, which, like, how does that work? Like, how does Samos, like, because Samos goes with them to the future, but they find his younger self in the underground, and it's like, okay, wouldn't there be an older Samos here, I guess? I don't know, and also, why is Samos older in the past? It's kind of a weird thing, but yeah. Also, the villain in this one, Core, really caught me off guard. I did not think the old man was gonna be, like, the final boss of the game, and when you get that reveal at the very end in the construction site, I was like, I mean, there were kind of signs here and there, but I'm like, there's no way, right? I'm pretty sure Baron Praxis, who's, like, the leader of the city, is going to be the final boss, but you do find him a lot, or you find him, like, what, once or twice, I think, in this game, which is kind of cool. But I was like, okay, he's the final boss for sure. Like, yeah, we fought him twice, but we're going to fight him again. But no, Core kills Baron Praxis. Spoiler alert, by the way. I should have mentioned that at the start of the video. But Core kills Baron Praxis, and I was like, bro! Like, holy shit. And dude, the locations here are so fun. I love the Bazaar. I love Haven City. I love the Precursor Temple. I love Haven Forest. Like, this game is difficult, too, in places. There are a lot of missions where if you are not good at the game, or at least, like, decent, you're gonna struggle. A lot of those endgame missions can be a real pain in the ass. And that final location where you got the Metalhead Nest, like, again, if you don't know, like, how to be good at this game, you will probably suffer, because it gets pretty hard near the end, and it gets hard in a lot of, like, spots in the middle, too. But yeah, this game is just fantastic. It is a huge ramp up from Jak and Daxter Precursor Legacy. But even with that, I cannot put it at number 1. It's number 2. I think there is one game, which y'all could probably guess if you have played the games before, but there is one game that I think does even better than this, and we'll get there in a second. But Jak 2 is a fantastic game, one of my favorite PS2 games of all time. I adored it. And again, it is the first game I played in this franchise. I did not play the Precursor Legacy until, like, years afterwards. I played Jak 2 first, and I was in love with it. I love the story, the characters, the setting, the lore, especially with, like, whole, you know, Jak's backstory. Also, yeah, dude, Jak's backstory. At the, you meet this kid where it's like, okay, there's this, like, random kid just, you know, being guarded by the underground, but it's literally young Jak. Like, it's younger Jak from the past, or I guess the future. I don't know. The whole time thing's kind of it's kind of confusing at times, but it's young Jak, and at the end of the game, he's sent back to the past with Samos to grow up to then do what he did today, which is kind of like, it's like a weird loop, I guess. Like, that's never, like, you know, I feel like Jak 2 is like a repeating game where it's like, they meet young Jak, they send him back to the past, and then become, you know, the Jak you play in this game. It's kind of like a weird time loop. I don't know. But anyway, enough ranting. That's it for Jak 2. Love this game so much. It's great. Number 2. However, I loved Jak 2 so much, but then I played Jak 3 about a year or two afterwards, and I did not think they'd top the second game, because the second game was, like, so fucking good. But then I played Jak 3, man, and by the end, I was like, yep, no contest, it's better. Like, it is better in so many aspects. I will say, overall, it is a bit easier than Jak 2 in terms of the missions. There are some hard missions, like, sprinkled in there, but I think the overall difficulty does go down from Jak 2. But, man, the one thing that sets Jak 3 above all of them is just the lore. The lore of, you know, more Jak stuff and the precursors, man. Like, throughout the first and second game, you're left wondering, like, who are the precursors? These mystical, like, powerful beings that, you know, made the universe and rule over it. Like, who are they? And this game literally answers it. And, spoiler warning, by the way, I'm just gonna say it right now. At the end of the game, you find out that the precursors are Otzels, like Daxter. And they reveal that, when Daxter touched the Dark Eco in the first game and became an Otzel, he wasn't cursed. He was blessed. He became a precursor. Now, he's not part of their group, obviously. He decided to go with Jak and whatnot. But, just that reveal blew my mind. I was like, there's no way that Daxter is one of the precursors. Like, they're also Otzels. Like, what? Because you see him in, like, these little, like, different forms throughout the first 3 games, and you're like, okay, they're like these mystical, like, god creatures and whatnot, but no, they're literally Otzels. Like, what? Oh, man. Also, the villain in this one, well, we got kind of two. We got Count Beager, who, is, like, the, not the ruler of Haven City, but he's, like, on the council and whatnot, and he kind of is, like, the, I guess, the leader of the council. I don't know, it's kind of weird, but, he basically helps to banish Jak from Haven City to the Wasteland in Jak 3, because apparently Jak 2, Jak in Jak 2 is responsible for committing crimes, because in Jak 2, if you remember, there was a Metalhead invasion, and, they were like, well, your friendship with Crew, who was a character in Jak 2, helped him get into the city, and, yeah, right off the bat, Count Beager is a very hateable person. I did not like this guy, but he was good. I think he was a really good, like, detestable villain. Like, you just, you know, when he was on screen, you always hated him. Like, he was just gonna do something, you know, vile and nasty. And then, dude, seeing Errol come back from Jak 2. There's a lot of characters I'm missing from Jak 2, I'm sorry. But, Errol in Jak 2 is a popular racer, also a Crimson Guard leader. And, he dies in Jak 2, presumably after the, final race you do. And, he comes back in Jak 3 as, like, a cyborg, and he's now, like, the big final boss trying to, help to end the universe. I was like, bro, what? They brought Errol back? But he was good! I like Errol! He is such a great villain. Like, I love his voice actor, I love his character, I love him being a full-on, like, Crimson Guard kind of cyborg. And, dude, the locations in this one, man, I love Jak 2's locations, but Jak 3, like, really upped the ante there. I love the whole Metalhead City being where the slums used to be, or not the slums, what is it called? The, where, like, the garden used to be, where the bazaar is. That was kind of cool. The Metalhead Tower was fun to go up. It's very hard, though, I will say. It's a pretty hard place to get through. The War Factory, oh, man. The music and the atmosphere of the War Factory was great. I love that entire mission. And the Arrow boss fight was cool as well. And the final boss was amazing, too. You got that giant dragon head that you fight. Oh, man. It was great. And the soundtrack, too. I think this game, by far, has the best soundtrack of the entire franchise. Like, bar none. Like, Jak 2 has some good ones, too, and the first game. And I guess Jak X to an extent. But, Jak 3 is for sure the king when it comes to, best soundtrack. It is fan-freaking-tastic. I loved it. Also, the Wasteland. I love the Wasteland. Getting to drive vehicles through the desert and fight off these marauder vehicles that are trying to blow you up and whatnot. Yeah, there is just a lot here. I could go into more of it, but it would take too long probably, so... Yeah, if you guys can't tell, Jak 3 is my favorite. Like, far and away. Like, not even close. Like, you know, from the first game to the third game, they just got better and better. Like, you know, the first game was great, second game's better, third game's the best. Like, they really nailed a good trilogy here with these games. Like, one of my favorite trilogies of all time. Maybe my favorite one of all time, if I'm being honest. I'm trying to think of, like, other game trilogies out there that I like. Not a lot. So this might be my favorite game trilogy. I'll have to think about that for a bit. But, yeah, Jak 3, incredible, number 1, there you go. Now we go to Jak X and the other game. Let's start with Jak X. So the first 3 games were really iconic. They were great. And then X came along. And I like Jak X. I do. I love the racing. I've always loved racing games. I love all the side modes. Like, they're probably the best part of this game. The story is okay. They bring back Crew from the second game and have his daughter, like, help to poison the crew, and then they gotta race for the antidote. The one issue I have with this game is the difficulty spike. Because this difficulty does not stay consistent. It is, like, it jumps from easy to hard, like, constantly. Like, you know, some races are, like, really, really difficult, and some are, like, really, really easy. Like, I'm not a fan of that kind of game design, where it's, like, it's, like, very, very fluctuating. So, that did kind of ruin my fun a bit, where it's, like, I would do a really, really easy race, like, you know, no trouble at all, and the next race I would do would be, like, super, super hard, where it's, like, the CPUs are just insanely hard, they're always blowing me up, they're targeting me, like, I can't even win a freaking race anymore, like, I just didn't like that. Also, the villain, I will say, Mizo, he's alright, I would say. I do like his whole GT Blitz, persona, and the reveal was kind of cool, but I think I kind of expected it, because there's that one scene where, Pecker, who's from the second game, he comes back, and there's one part of the game in a cutscene where, he, like, does a little back high five to Blitz, and his wig, like, kind of tumbles a bit. So I'm like, okay, that's not his real hair. But then you see a cutscene where you see Mizo, like, the main villain, and he's bald, and I'm like, okay, I think I connect the dots now. I think I know who Mizo is. But, even so, like, that final race was okay, where you gotta blow up Mizo. Fun fact for you guys, during my playthrough of Jak X, Mizo killed himself. I did nothing. He missed a jump, and I won instantly. I was like, what? It was great. But yeah, again, there are things to like here. I do like the side modes. Like, I love, Deathmatch. I love Artifact Race. I love, what is it called? Rush Hour. I love the one where you have to freeze time and keep getting the timers. That was a good one. So yeah, honestly, the side modes for me are better than the main game, in my opinion. I still like the main game overall, but that difficulty spike throughout a bunch of the races really threw me off. So, I do love, too, how the tracks are based on, areas from other games, where you have, like, the stadium from Jak 2, the Wasteland from Jak 3, you have Haven City from Jak 2, you have, the sewers, that was cool. But yeah, and again, just it being a racing game and not, like, a platforming game like the first 3 were really did kind of hurt it a bit. But again, I do like this game a lot. I do love racing games, but when you're coming off of the first 3 games being platforming, like, action kind of adventure games, where it's like, you know, you're platforming, you're shooting, you're doing whatever, then you go to a racing game, it's like, it's a little bit weird, don't you think? But, again, I still like it, so number 4 for me will be Jak X. There's lots I like about it, but it does not come close to topping the, first 3 games for me. It just doesn't. Like, sorry to say. There are stuff, again, there are things to like. I do like the side modes and a bit of the story, but I cannot put it above the first 3 games. I just can't. Like, you know, when you got, again, going from platforming to racing, kind of weird. If it was like a spin-off, I would understand it, but it's like a mainline game, so, you know, you get the point there. Alright, our final game, Jak and Daxter, The Lost Frontier. I heard a lot about this game before I played it for the first time. And I saw the reviews, and they were kind of middling. And I was kind of worried to play it. Now, having played it, I totally get why people weren't in on this game. First of all, the models, I don't know what they were thinking, but the models just did not work for me. They made Kira kind of ugly in this game. Like Jak's girlfriend. And, I don't know. Oh, also, before we go on, one point about Jak 3. I did not like the Jak and Ashlyn relationship because they're with other people. Like, you know, Jak has Kira, Ashlyn's got Torn, And they kiss in Jak 3, and I'm like, okay. And then Jak X comes, and they don't even mention it. It's dropped completely, like, what? Anyway, I just want to get that off my chest. That is the one thing I do not like about Jak 3. Besides that, phenomenal game. Anyway, back to Jak and Daxter: The Lost Frontier. So, this game was originally made for the PSP, I believe. And it got ported to the PS2. Again, PSP to PS2. A handheld system to a console system. Now, here's the weird thing, right? They did not change the graphics at all from PSP. So going from PSP, a handheld system, to a console without changing the graphics? Yeah, this game looks pretty rough, I will say. Honestly, it looks a lot worse than the first game, in my opinion. This might be the worst looking game in the entire franchise, bar none. Like, if they had just changed the graphics from PSP to PS2, it'd be fine, you know? I don't know. But again, I do think Naughty Dog did not make this game, because the first 4 games were Naughty Dog developed, but then they, I think this game was made by, what's that company's name? I forgot, but it wasn't Naughty Dog. So, yeah, that's the big reason why this game kind of flopped, in my opinion, because Naughty Dog didn't develop it. But yeah, as far as what I like, I do like some of the songs in this game. I like getting to fly around in my ship and go places. That was kind of cool. But the locations are kind of forgettable. Like that main city where you find the main villain eventually, it was alright. Like, the story was kind of mid to me. I'm not a big fan of Phoenix either. The guy who, like, woos Kira and tries to steal her from Jak and becomes, like, an ally by the end. And he dies, too, in the final battle. He wasn't really a great character for me. I do also like the hub world being the giant ship that Phoenix captains, I think, right? That was kind of cool. But yeah, I don't remember a whole lot about this game, and I think I know why. It's because this game is kind of mid. Like, like, Jak X was a bit of a step down from the first 3 games. The Lost Frontier is a huge step down from the first 3 games. It is easily the worst game in the franchise. Now, I haven't played Daxter, so I might need to play that first, but, yeah, this game, easy number 5. Like, not even close. Like, again, it's not a bad game. There are things to like about it, but when you're against, like, you know, this iconic trilogy of games being Jak 1, 2, and 3, and then you go ahead and do this, and different developer as well, you're kind of destined to not top it, right? Like, you just can't top it, you know? And again, the graphics, like, if they had changed the graphics at least a little bit to, like, be better than PSP, it would have been fine, but it just looked weird. Like, you know, the graphics did not look good. They didn't bother to change the graphics from PSP to PS2, and it was weird because they're PSP graphics on a PS2. Doesn't work, man. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but it just looks like, it looks muddy and it looks ugly, you know? But, yeah, I don't know. So, there you go. Lost Frontier, worst game of the franchise. Haven't played Daxter, so that might be, I don't know. Honestly, I think Daxter might even top Lost Frontier, because I have seen gameplay and the story of Daxter, and it looks fine, so if we're doing, like, you know, all of them, I would probably put Lost Frontier at number 6 and Daxter at number 5, maybe, I don't know. But, there you go. That is my ranking of every single Jak and Daxter game, and I am fine with this. So, Trilogy is the best, X is good, and Lost Frontier is kind of mid, so there you go. But, what did you guys think? Let me know in the comments if you played these games, like what you would rank these, what you would change. And I guess I will see you guys in the next tier list video, and until then, farewell!